Most industrial cyberattacks don't succeed because someone broke advanced encryption or cracked a sophisticated password. They succeed because a network that was supposed to be separated wasn't. A billing system talks to a pipeline. A vendor's laptop talks to a control room. One connection that should never have existed becomes the entire attack path. Today, we're going deep on the framework meant to prevent exactly that, and why, in practice, it fails more often than you'd think. If you're new here, quick recap. The Purdue Model is a reference framework for structuring industrial networks in layers, from the physical equipment at the bottom, up through controllers, supervisory systems, site operations, and finally, the corporate IT network at the top. The core idea is simple. Keep each layer separated, so a compromise in one doesn't automatically become a compromise of everything. In our first episode, we introduced this at a high level. Today, we're going layer by layer, and more importantly, we're looking at exactly where and why that separation tends to collapse in real facilities. Let's break down each level properly. Level 0 is the physical process itself, the actual pumps, valves, and motors doing physical work. Level 1 is basic control, the sensors and controllers directly manipulating that equipment in real time. Level 2 is supervisory control, the HMIs and SCADA systems we covered last episode, where operators actually watch and intervene. Level 3 is site operations, managing production scheduling, historians, and engineering workstations across an entire facility. Level 3.5, often added as an industrial DMZ, acts as a buffer zone. And levels 4 and 5 are the corporate world, business planning, logistics, email, and everything connected to the broader internet. 6 distinct zones, each one meant to trust the next only through carefully controlled paths. The modern version of this thinking comes from a standard called IEC 62443, which talks less about rigid levels and more about zones and conduits. A zone is a group of assets that share the same security requirements, say everything on a single production line. A conduit is the controlled pathway allowing communication between zones, ideally monitored, restricted, and logged. The industrial DMZ sits right at the level 3 to level 4 boundary, a deliberately isolated buffer where only specific, necessary data crosses, like production reports, flowing up, but never direct control access flowing down. Done properly, this means even if the corporate network is fully compromised, an attacker still can't reach the equipment actually running the plant. That's the theory. Here's the reality. Segmentation breaks down for surprisingly ordinary reasons. Legacy equipment, sometimes decades old, was never designed to sit behind modern firewalls, so exceptions get made, quietly, one at a time. Vendors need remote access for maintenance, and that access often stays open long after the job is done. Business pressure pushes for real-time production data flowing straight to corporate dashboards, and the fastest way to deliver that is usually the least secure way. And over years, without anyone deciding to abandon the architecture all at once, dozens of small, reasonable-sounding exceptions accumulate into a network that looks segmented on a diagram, but isn't in practice. This exact pattern has played out in real incidents. In 2021, a ransomware attack hit the corporate IT side of a major fuel pipeline operator, not the pipeline's control systems directly. But because billing and operational technology weren't cleanly separated, the company made the decision to shut down the entire pipeline anyway, unable to confirm the ransomware hadn't spread further or unable to bill customers accurately. The result? Fuel shortages across an entire region, from an attack that technically never touched a single valve or pump. It's a powerful reminder that segmentation failures don't always require an attacker to physically reach OT systems. Sometimes the uncertainty alone is enough to cause a shutdown. It's worth saying clearly, the Purdue Model is a reference, not a rulebook, and it's decades old. Many modern practitioners now lean on zero-trust principles instead. The idea that no connection is automatically trusted just because of which layer it originates from, and every request should be verified, every time. Microsegmentation takes this further, isolating individual devices or small groups rather than entire layers. So even a successful breach stays contained to a very small blast radius. These approaches don't replace the Purdue Model's thinking. They sharpen it, for a world where clean, static layers are increasingly hard to maintain. In practice, defending this architecture comes down to a few concrete habits. Maintaining an accurate asset inventory, so you actually know what's connected to what, something many facilities struggle with more than you'd expect. Continuously monitoring conduits and DMZ traffic for anything that deviates from normal patterns. And increasingly, using unidirectional gateways, hardware that physically allows data to flow only one direction, making certain types of intrusion not just unlikely, but physically impossible. This is exactly the kind of framework national cybersecurity authorities around the world are now building formal guidance around, including dedicated OT and critical infrastructure controls, reflecting just how central this thinking has become to protecting national infrastructure, not just individual companies. That's the Purdue Model, not as a diagram in a textbook, but as something that has to be actively defended against the small, reasonable-sounding exceptions that eroded over time. Next episode, we go back to where this all started publicly. Stuxnet, the attack that proved physical infrastructure could be destroyed with nothing but code. This is Grid Matrix. Subscribe, and let's go deeper into the Matrix.